Hello. This is an episode on. I screwed this up. Hold on. Hold on. Hold
Hello.
on. Hold on.
No, it
What?
stays. We're keeping it.
This is an
What do we?
episode about.
Yeah.
This is an episode. This is a preview episode for free. Trying to tantalize you into joining one of our paid options, either Patreon or Substack. Both of them are at Art of Dark Pod to listen to the full in-depth episode on the Marquis de Sade, author of 120 Days of Sodom, Juliet,
It's a lot of
Justine.
days of
Uh,
Sodom.
it's too many,
Like
frankly.
yeah. After 3 days of Sodom, it starts to imagine the smell.
You want to you take a break. I mean, for crying
Hmm,
out loud.
sure.
This episode we'll be talking about the French Revolution. We'll be talking about Samdemi, which is a classic Art of Darkness subject. We'll be talking about prison. This is one of our maybe the subject of ours who did the most time behind bars. We're going to be talking about the I can't pronounce it in the proper French, but the ancient regime that once ruled France and was overthrown in the late 18th century. It's we haven't recorded yet. We're recording this first, but I'm going to tell you right now, it's a banger, and you're going to want to hear the entire thing. So,
Patreon.com/Art of Dark Pod, Substack.com/at Art of Dark Pod. We are going to be putting more core episodes behind the paywall. We love all our listeners. Thank you for supporting the pod. You sign up, you become a patron, you get all sorts of cool stuff. We talk about it all the time, so we won't belabor it. Enjoy this preview of Brad's core episode on the Marquis de Sade.
go back to de Sade's father. The Comte de Sade's father benefited from a close relationship to the Condés. He would become a captain of the dragoons in the prince's regiment. That is the prince's Louis Henry Bourbon. He's the head of the Regency Council and superintendent of the king's education. He's one of the most important people in the kingdom. And since de Sade's father was sort of right next to him, this gave him access to almost anything that a man might want, right? But he also made him a sort of a diplomatic henchman for the Condés. So you think of like de Sade's father is important, but he's also sometimes apparently did some of the dirty work for the royalty.
That's it. You
And
don't hear that word much anymore. Henchman.
yeah.
Yeah.
You got to
You
get a
know,
good henchman if you're going to
yeah, they're out there.
That's another
If
that's
it,
another resume item for the Heir to Darkness interns.
100%. I was just going to say,
Yeah.
if you are a nurse with a master's of library science who's prepared to be a hench
Yeah.
person,
I
and
would say 1 year of henching experience.
one year of henching, and you're prepared to transfer digital media to cassette tapes, boy, do we have a job for you.
There's one person out there who could do
We're
it.
going to find him.
At 25, Saad's father was a full-on libertine, and what got him aroused was he liked women of high status. His whole thing was like, can I get this woman of high status and sort of like bring her down to my level, right? That was what got him worked up. He also apparently slept with a number of male prostitutes and young men of inferior rank. If it was women, he needed them to be like of high rank. Men, he did not care. Um, he was also something of a writer, though, he seems to only have done this for amusement. It was undignified for a member of the nobility pre-revolution to be an artist in any sense. You weren't supposed to. You could dally and you could write a poem for your friends, or you could write a bawdy little song, and that's fine. But like to actually be an artist, that was very much déclassé. Um,
You. Well,
yeah.
it's like a sort of you work for hire. Yeah,
Mhm.
and a
Yeah.
different attitude toward it.
Yeah.
Nobody was going,
Yeah.
"Oh God, I'm spilling
Right.
over with passion to paint
Right.
this." I mean, some
Right.
were, but it's
Yeah.
like you've got
Yeah.
better things to do.
Yeah. You
I mean,
go.
and again, how much has changed?
Mhm.
How much status really is there now to being an
Mhm.
artist, unless you're one of the pets?
Right. Right.
Right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and
That's
it's
true.
always a pet, isn't it? You
Mhm.
know exactly what I
Mhm.
mean.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Now, in 1733, the Marquis de Sade's father ends up marrying the lady in waiting of the Princess Condé. He basically only married the lady in waiting because he wanted to continue his affair with the Princess Condé. So he marries the lady in waiting so he can basically live near the princess who he's having an affair with. Okay. Um, so, but a lady in
That
waiting
is some next level pickup artist
it
stuff.
is, right? The lady in waiting is nobility, and by marrying her, the Marquis de Sade's father allied himself in the future with the house of Bourbon Condé, which is like the most important house in the ancient regime at this point. So this gets him jobs. He does these diplomatic missions to Russia and London, etc. And he's also supposed to be keeping an eye, and he's also supposed to be keeping an eye on the Jacobites. And in order to do this, he joined a Masonic lodge. So there's like a little bit of like Desade's father was like involved in like some 18th century espionage to a certain extent. Um, Eventually, he purchases the post of lieutenant general of a regiment, and kind of secures his fortune for a time. 1740, the Marquis de Sade is born. Our Marquis de Sade, June 2nd, 1740. There's often a kind of myth about Marquis de Sade that he represents this sort of unique distillation of nobility, of the sort of noble line, that he's the black sheep. Um, as far as I can tell, that's just not true. He's basically exactly like his father, and as far as I can tell, except maybe a little less. His father wouldn't mind actually like making some effort in order to like keep the family together or improve their wealth or improve their situation. The Marquis de Sade didn't care about any of that. He was pure hedonism. He was any degree of, and we'll see as we go on what I mean by this. There's no The Marquis de Sade did not live in reality. He lived in Marquis de Sade land. Yeah.
You'd have to write 120 Days of Sodom. Brad, I
Mhm.
made the mistake of Wikipediaing, searching the
Yeah.
House of Condé, Princes of Condé, and I
Mhm.
did that. And now I'm having that American moment where I'm like, oh shit, these motherfuckers are still out there.
Right?
Where you go,
Yeah.
like all their heads were chopped off, and guess
Right.
what? They still have titles. They still have
Yeah.
names. That was one
Wild.
of the biggest culture shock moments when I lived over in the UK briefly. You
Yeah.
know, over here, I've said this before on the pod. I'm going to say it again, but my weird Philistine, redneck and a turtleneck ass.
Yeah.
It's like you sign up for a bank account. Over here, it's like Ms., Mr., Doctor,
Right.
Mrs.
Right.
Over there, it's
Right.
like Lord, Baron.
Right. Right. It's
I,
also like
Sir, you're
to
like,
me,
what
it's
the
like you guys are just making this shit up, aren't you?
what the
Like this
fuck
is
is
just
right? Exactly. You can't take this seriously, can you? And the guy's like, I am the king of Spain.
right. Right. Exactly.
You kind
Exactly.
of want to, you just wonder if they're a good hang. I mean,
I mean, they might be.
what would
It's
they
nothing.
think of
It's not
us? I mean,
personal
yeah,
about. It's not
sure,
personal about the individuals. It's just as Americans, the whole thing seems ridiculous to
sure,
us.
sure.
Yeah.
Hashtag not all nobility.
Right. Yeah. So Marquis de Sade isn't really raised by his parents. He's sort of all over the place. But here's one guy who raised him for a little while. Quote, Indeed, the Comte de Charlat was reputed to be one of the most truly sadistic men of his time, though that word did not exist at the time. Never had anyone taken such pleasure in crime. He killed his fellow human beings for sport, as other men went hunting. One day, he shot a man in the town of Anet to prove his skill with a gun. His favorite amusement was to fire a musket at workmen repairing nearby roofs. When he hit one, he jumped for joy. To avoid prosecution, he then went to the king and begged forgiveness. One day, tired of his petitions, Louis XV is supposed to have answered, quote, Monsieur, the pardon you ask of me is due your rank and quality as prince of the blood, but I shall be even more pleased to pardon the man who does the same to you. Shirley had a son by a woman named Delisle, a prostitute who was a favorite of the Condés. When the child fell ill sometime between its sixth and eighth month, Shirley caused him to swallow a glassful of spirits that killed him instantly. Quote, That child certainly was not mine, the prince exclaimed, if that drink made him die. Matthew Marai, I'm not sure who that is, tells another story about the Count's insane behavior. In a fit of jealousy, he went looking for Delisle one day in a cafe below her apartment between the Rue de Richelieu and the Palace Royal. He had the establishment surrounded by the watch and bludgeoned the unfortunate patrons. Afterward, while returning, he spotted the woman he was after, seized her, slapped her twice, and kicked her in the behind, ordered her up to her room, removed her clothes, rained blows on her servants, ordered supper to be served, and ended by spending the night with her. So he's got his dad, who's a notorious libertine, his uncle, who's also a notorious libertine. Then he's raised by this psychopath who's also a prince, right?
Sure. When somebody rains blows on you,
Yeah,
that's heavy, and it
yeah,
always makes me think of Festivus.
yes, exactly.
As I was raining blows upon him, like something to that effect. It's such a funny
Yeah,
phrase.
it is.
It's really evocative.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Now, so we're gonna also see another place where Sade might have learned some libertinage. But here, let's read from a this is I think this is a letter that the Marquis de Sade wrote. I'm pulling it from the book How to Read Sade by John Phillips. Quote, yes, I'm a libertine. And this is the Marquis de Sade's voice. Yes, I am a libertine. That I admit. I have conceived everything that can be conceived in that area, but I have certainly not practiced everything I have conceived and never shall. I am a libertine, but I am neither a criminal nor a murderer. And since I am obliged to place my apology next to my justification, I think I